People have kind of introduced themselves and explained how they got into the industry, and a few people have mentioned that you don't have to be going through the classical university route, or be an astrophysicist, or be a rocket scientist, and I'm a very good example of that. I am neither an astrophysicist or a rocket scientist. I started my working life out in an apprenticeship in the Royal Navy. And I came away with a HNC in electronics and communications engineering, and specialised around radars, computer systems, weapon systems of all different shapes and sizes. After 12 years, I decided that I didn't want to stay in the Navy any longer, and I wanted to try the outside world. And I joined a company called Matra Marconi Space, which Airbus, or Matra Marconi Space became Airbus over the years through many different name changes. But effectively, I've worked for the same company since I left the Royal Navy. I started out as a satellite test support engineer, so I was using my RF skills to prepare and utilize high frequency test equipment that was used on satellite telecommunication payloads, to test it in a range of different circumstances, and supporting the production people in doing the testing of those payloads. I then progressed on to become a project manager in that production area, because I liked what they were doing, and it was very interesting. And I ended up heading up production in Portsmouth, where we specialised particularly in telecommunication payloads and very high frequency Earth observation instruments. And also some defence work as well. So I was head of production for a while. I then moved to become head of procurement for the UK for Airbus's Defence and Space Division, or particularly the Space Division at that time. And a bit of a theme, I like moving around. So after that, I actually took a job looking after customer feedback from our products division. So that was working across Europe at lots of different sites where we produce equipment that goes into launch vehicles, satellites, ballistic missiles, all sorts of things. I then became head of quality for the UK, with some European responsibilities as well, again in the Space Division. And just recently, in the last year, I've taken over a department that's the Digital Design Support Department for the whole of Airbus Defence and Space. So not only do I look after space activities, I also get involved in various military aircraft activities like the A400M, Eurofighter, and the new programs coming through in Europe called Eurodrone, and the Future Combat Air System that Europe is developing. So all the way through that, I've worked on many different programs. For anybody who's interested in space, programs like Rosetta, Bepi Colombo that just skimmed past Mercury over the weekend, Gaia that's mapping stars, and Envisat that was doing a lot of Earth observation activities, and around 80 or so satellite telecommunication satellites, that programs that I've been involved in. So that's what you can manage to do without a degree. So with a degree, you can clearly do a huge amount more than that if you want to. So Airbus in the UK. So we heard Kathy talk about the what's the number now? See, I've lost the number. 45,000 people in the UK space industry. About 2,600 of those work for Airbus in the Defence and Space Division. We are in Stevenage, about 1,000, 1,200 people. Where we generally do more mechanical based activities, mechanical structures. So Bepi Colombo structure was built in Stevenage, for instance, and the Rosalind Franklin Mars rover that's going to Mars very soon, hopefully, was also built in Stevenage. So we prime various European Space Agency programs, and we're also priming the what Avi mentioned was the Skynet program. We're priming the Skynet 6A program from Stevenage. So lots of different roles there. About 1,000 people in Portsmouth, as I said, specialising in telecommunication payloads, high frequency instruments, and some secure comms activities for the UK Ministry of Defence. So we provide ground platforms on ships, on land, and in aircraft, so that all of those military assets can receive telecommunications or data from satellites as they need. Also in the area, we've heard mention of Surrey Satellites, SSTL, so they're a subsidiary of Airbus in Guildford, and they employ about 500 people. We've also got a facility of around 100 and so people in Farnborough, where we do the Zephyr program, which is a stratospheric solar-powered drone that we're looking to develop into all sorts of different markets. But we call them pseudo satellites because they work up around 70,000 feet. And they can stay airborne, we hope, once we've demonstrated capability, for anywhere around sort of 2 to 3, maybe 4 months at a time, and provide either observation coverage or comms coverage, all sorts of things that we could do with those platforms. And then we've got around 100 people split between Newcastle, Leicester and Guildford, where we have our geo-intelligence division. So sorry, I can't remember who the talker was. One of the previous speakers talked about using mapping and geographical information. So they're the guys that take satellite data and use it to provide services to people on Earth who need the information. So all of those different activities really have a huge range of possibilities for graduates and apprenticeships. This is a very timely call for me to be on, because our graduate programs, they will open for applications on the 11th of October, so next week. And we're looking for somewhere around 30 to 35 interns. So these are people that we bring into the business as undergraduates. We bring them in for usually around a year during their graduate program, usually between their second and third year. And we give them a paid internship for a year. They come and work on site. They get involved in all sorts of projects and activities. And then a lot of those interns then go on to complete their degrees and then come back to us as graduates. This year we've got around 30 graduate positions open, and they are for both engineering and science degrees. We don't specify which particular degrees that we're looking for. It's just got to be either a bachelor's or a master's. I have to say, a lot of those people coming in, they're either from the internship scheme or they come with master's degrees, but we do take people with bachelor's degrees in certain areas, particularly if they're around sort of digital and cyber and those kind of areas. We often take graduates directly in on bachelor degrees. And then we've got technician and degree apprenticeships. Technician apprenticeships, we've had around 24 apprenticeships at that level for the last 15, 20 years. Those are actually open at the moment, so you can go on the Airbus website and look at those apprenticeships, but those are more targeted towards people coming directly out of school or maybe from college with technician or technical vocational routes. And the degree apprenticeships were just started this year. We took on our first degree apprenticeships into our secure comms area. just a handful of them, but that scheme is growing, and I'm involved in creating apprenticeship standards for the space industry in the UK, and we have a space systems engineer degree apprenticeship that we're hoping to have in place for next September, and we expect to take some people onto that. And again, the entry point for those is more likely to be people with A levels, or a level 3 apprenticeship, or a level 3 BTEC or NVQ or something like that. So all of those numbers I gave you are for mainly spread between Stevenage, Portsmouth, a few in Leicester and Guildford and Farnborough. But Airbus overall, I just checked before we started the call, and what we call entry level positions, I checked, and there were 288 roles across Airbus across the world for entry level people that are currently open, and the place to go to get all the information you need about any careers to do with careers in with Airbus is airbus.com/careers. And I'll hand over to the next speaker. Thank you.